Welcome to Topics in American Classroom English, right here on YouTube. If you're working to build stronger, more confident English skills, this channel is designed for you. Here, you'll learn through lessons inspired by real American high school classrooms, helping you understand how English is used to explain ideas, analyze topics, and think critically. Each topic, from current global issues to core academic subjects, is carefully chosen to strengthen your listening, reading, and reasoning skills in natural academic English. So take your seat, stay curious, and keep learning with us. We're here to help you grow your English one topic at a time.
All right, everyone. Before we begin today's lesson, I want to be very clear about what kind of class this is and how I expect you to think today. What we're working on today is a standard upper-level public high school lesson, the kind of topic you would normally encounter around 10th or 11th grade in environmental science, technology studies, or global studies. This is not a simple technology lesson, and it's not a current events discussion. This is a systems-level academic lesson about how artificial intelligence connects to energy systems, water resources, and the environment. So I want you listening today the way you would in a real U.S. public high school classroom, not just to understand information, but to follow cause and effect chains, limits, and trade-offs. When people talk about artificial intelligence, they usually imagine software, apps, chatbots, or robots. But AI does not exist by itself. AI lives in buildings. AI runs on electricity. AI depends on water. Behind every AI-generated image, every automated decision, and every cloud service are massive facilities called data centers. They are part of the same physical world as power plants, rivers, and water systems. So today's lesson is really about this question. What happens to environmental systems when AI grows at a global scale? By the end of today's lesson, you should be able to explain why AI depends on data centers, how data centers increase electricity and water demand, how that growth affects environmental systems, and why future AI expansion is limited by infrastructure capacity. Since today is a lecture-based class, I'm not asking you to read silently. I'm asking you to track relationships as you listen. As we move through the lesson, organize your notes around 4 things: causes, effects, limits, and trade-offs. If you write down a fact, connect it to one of those. All right, let's begin today's lesson. As we go, build this chain in your notes. AI expands, data centers expand, electricity and water use increase, environmental pressure grows, and hard choices appear. People often talk about AI as if it floats in the cloud, but artificial intelligence depends on physical systems. The most important of these systems are data centers. Data centers are industrial-scale facilities filled with computer servers. These servers store information and perform the calculations that make online services and AI possible. That's why we describe data centers as infrastructure. They are the physical foundation of the digital world. Modern AI systems require massive computing power. Training and running them involves billions of calculations happening constantly. A single AI-focused data center can use as much electricity as about 100,000 households. These facilities operate continuously. They do not shut down. So, as AI grows, electricity demand rises steadily and heavily. Electricity use creates heat. Computers generate heat, and without cooling, they fail. Many data centers rely on water-based cooling systems to remove that heat. As a result, data centers often consume extremely large volumes of water. So, the system now looks like this. AI grows, computing grows, electricity use grows, heat grows, and water use grows. Digital growth is directly connected to freshwater systems. If electricity is produced using fossil fuels, higher electricity demand increases greenhouse gas emissions. At the same time, increased water withdrawals place stress on local freshwater systems. So, data centers affect both global climate systems and local water systems. The industry is developing new cooling technologies, but trade-offs remain. Cooling systems that reduce water use often require more electricity. Systems that reduce electricity demand often use more water. Environmental pressure does not disappear, it shifts. The greatest limit on data center expansion is not interest in AI. It is electricity supply. Power plants, transmission lines, and grid upgrades take time to build, so the pace of AI growth is tied to the pace of energy infrastructure development. Data centers sit at the intersection of digital technology and environmental systems. They are not just technology facilities, they are energy facilities, they are water facilities, they are environmental infrastructure. As artificial intelligence expands, it is reshaping how societies use electricity and water. This means the future of AI is not decided only by software and innovation. It is also decided by power grids, cooling systems, water resources, and long-term planning. Whether the benefits of AI can continue depends on how well societies design, support, and regulate the physical systems beneath it. Today was not about one building or one machine. It was about a system. Artificial intelligence depends on data centers. Data centers depend on electricity. Electricity creates heat. Heat requires cooling. Cooling often requires water. Rising electricity and water demand increase environmental pressure, and environmental pressure creates trade-offs and limits. So the core idea of today's lesson is this: artificial intelligence operates inside environmental systems. Its growth is shaped by electricity, water, and infrastructure capacity. Now, I want to make sure we didn't just hear this, but actually understood it. I'm going to ask you 3 core understanding questions. For each one, think through your answer first, then I'll walk you through a model explanation. So, let's start with the first question. Why does the growth of artificial intelligence necessarily increase both electricity use and water use? Now, this question does not have one single sentence as an answer. What I'm listening for is whether you recognized the chain, not just electricity, not just water, but the system that connects them. Take a moment and think it through. What has to happen physically when AI grows? A strong answer shows that you followed the whole system, not just one part. Artificial intelligence requires extremely large and continuous computing power. That computing happens inside data centers filled with servers. Running those systems requires vast amounts of electricity. Electricity use creates heat, and when heat increases, cooling becomes necessary. To prevent overheating, many data centers rely on cooling systems that often use water. So if you recognized this full chain, computing, electricity, heat, cooling, and water, then you understood the core relationship. That's why we say the relationship is structural, not optional. Now let's move to the second question. How do data centers connect digital technology to global climate systems and local water systems? Here, I'm not looking for a definition. I'm looking for whether you noticed that today's lesson worked on two environmental levels at the same time. Think about where the electricity comes from, and think about where the cooling water comes from. A strong answer shows that you identified both scales of impact. First, data centers increase electricity demand. When that electricity is produced using fossil fuels, higher demand leads to increased greenhouse gas emissions. Those emissions affect the global climate system. Second, data centers withdraw large volumes of water for cooling. That water use directly affects local and regional freshwater systems. So, if you recognized both global climate connections and local water stress, then you read this lesson correctly. That's how digital systems become part of environmental systems. Now, the third question goes a level deeper. Why is data center growth constrained by infrastructure capacity and resource trade offs? This question is not about technology excitement, it's about limits. What slows growth even when demand is high? And why can't environmental pressure simply be engineered away? A strong answer recognizes two things: time and trade offs. First, energy infrastructure takes years to expand. Power plants, transmission lines, and grids cannot be built instantly. That means AI growth is tied to how fast physical systems can grow. Second, cooling technologies involve trade offs. Reducing water use often increases electricity use. Reducing electricity demand often increases water use. So, environmental pressure does not disappear, it shifts. If you recognized both the infrastructure limits and the trade offs, then you understood why the lesson kept returning to physical systems, not software. So let's close by stepping back one last time. Today's lesson was not about machines, it was about systems. Artificial intelligence does not escape environmental systems, it functions inside them. Understanding AI today means understanding energy, water, and environmental trade offs.
That wraps up today's listening lesson. Make sure to listen again, maybe even a few times. Repetition is what trains your ear and builds real listening power. And try shadowing the audio or writing out key parts at least once. Even a single attempt can seriously boost your comprehension. Don't forget to check the questions that go with this lesson. They'll help you measure how much you really understood. If you have requests, ideas, or anything you want to share, leave a comment. And if this lesson helped you, please like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps me bring you even better topics and higher quality lessons. I'm cheering for you and the goals you're working toward. Keep practicing with the reading versions too. They'll increase your improvement even faster. See you in the next lesson.